Endeavor podcast. Today, we're doing a solo cast. As you guys know, I like to throw those in every few weeks, and I think this is a good opportunity to really take a deep dive into Jiu Jitsu today. Every time I talk about Jiu Jitsu, people write me and they're happy about it, and they say, more Jiu Jitsu content, please. And, a lot of people that are purple, brown, new black belts have aspirations of one day opening an academy. And I think that is a healthy aspiration. I think that is something that can be a very viable tool to help you break out of the matrix and be you for a living. And I've talked a lot about it over the years, and you guys have probably heard that on one hand, when you put all your eggs in the basket of jiu-jitsu, it can be scary. It can come with a lot of unknowns. And when it does not produce in the capacity that you hoped jiu-jitsu would produce in, man, you start to actually have some resentment for jiu-jitsu. And I remember early on, after opening my academy, I was kind of like, I was becoming resentful to jiu-jitsu because I was going in debt. It wasn't paying the bills. I was just struggling overall in life, both on and off the mats for that period of time. And a failing business was a big part of that. And so I would just like to take the next hour and kind of talk to you guys about what I think you need to implement if you want to one day open a successful jiu-jitsu academy. Our jiu-jitsu academy now is thriving. We have done one expansion. We did that in, it was 2 years ago in April. And we are already at the point where we need to expand again. And so good problems to have, but with growth and expansions comes all kinds of nightmares that anybody that's ever built anything or ran a business knows that all the red tape and all the permits and all the inspections, fuck, man, it's like it never ends. And you guys know me. There's a part of me that is always called to just saying, fuck you, I'm going to do it my way, get the fuck out of my hair. But then I have to remember, that there is an aspect of this life where we do have to play the game a little bit. And I hate to admit that, shout out to my father, Dana Anderson. He used to tell me, because he was a business owner, he was an entrepreneur, and he used to tell me, he's like, bro, always remember there's a difference between sucking dick and playing the game. Like, we're never going to kiss anyone's ass. We're never going to go against our morals or our values. But also, if we are going to find success in the realm of whatever business you are trying to find success in, just know it's going to come with red tape. It's going to come with headaches. And, pushing that fuck you button always is something that calls to me, because it's like, dude, you know what? I don't need another inspection. I don't need another fucking wetland assessor to come out and tell me the fucking density of my dirt at the tune of $8,000. And that shit happens all the time. It happens all the time. Like, we have been getting $8,000 dings day in and day out. It seems like they're just fucking, they're starting to stack up like cordwood. And it's very frustrating as a small business owner. This is the first era of my entrepreneurship and my jiu-jitsu academy where we are really moving into success. And it took a long, long time to get here. And as we move towards success and start to obtain a higher level of success, it's like as the saying goes, the bigger you get, the more problems you get. And we're seeing that. Now, I'm not going to go into all those problems because I've already done that on the show. I've already talked about some of the hoops that we're jumping through. And the truth of the matter is the county is working with us, and I see light at the end of the tunnel. But it's just, come on. Everybody knows dealing with government on any level is usually a long, arduous, and tedious process, and it's just par for the course. But I don't want today's episode to be focused on the bullshit, because we can focus on the bullshit whenever we want. I want you guys to focus on the good and the positive side of being a small business owner and moving into a martial arts academy owner, because I know a lot of you guys want to do that. Now, throughout the last year or two, I've had a lot of guests on, and we've talked about some specific ideas, but I thought it would be good to kind of streamline them into a single episode where if you want to become an academy owner at some point, you can literally just be like, all right, I'm going to go back to, I think this will be 253. You can fucking bookmark it, and you can learn from a lot of the mistakes that I have made. And that's the beauty of technology and podcasts and YouTube. We can share our wins, we can share our losses, and now people doing this, walking a similar path in the future, can learn from my mistakes. And so, first and foremost, I will tell you guys, when you want to start your Jiu-Jitsu academy, everybody you know is going to be your biggest cheerleader. Everybody you know is going to tell you they can't wait till you open. And you are going to anticipate opening doors on opening day and having 50 people on the mats. And I can tell you that because that's exactly what I experienced. Now, I'm not fucking casting shade at any of my friends or family that said they were going to start training jiu-jitsu with me, but it's just human beings have a knack for talking and not doing. And jiu-jitsu, by the nature of what it is one of those activities where you hear a lot of people talking and not doing. And why is that? It's because jiu-jitsu is hard. At its foundation, that's what it comes down to. Jiu-jitsu is hard. It's difficult. It's painful. It takes forever to see growth and see improvements. So by the nature of what jiu-jitsu is, I'm here to tell you, it does not appeal to the majority of people. Now, something my father said to me when I was a kid, he said, bro, I went into the car business because every swinging dick owns a car. And he goes, use or build a path to entrepreneurship that literally every single person is a potential customer. And I mean, that makes sense. That resonates with me. I understand his thought process there. But I had to go into something that I was passionate about. I mean, everybody knows my story as a soldier for a long time and as a law enforcement officer for a long time. And I started to feel like I was fucking dying inside because I was chasing good benefits and a paycheck, but I wasn't living in passion anymore. And so my jiu-jitsu academy was more of a passion project than something that I was dead set on making me become a wealthy individual. Now, with that said, don't think that you can't use jiu-jitsu to become wealthy. There's a lot of people out there doing it. There's a blueprint that's available, and we'll talk about that because I think that that's an important thing. You can become wealthy. Now, wealthy is a subjective term, right? What is wealthy to you may be very different than what it is to me. But what I'm saying is you can put hundreds of thousands of dollars into your bank account through jiu-jitsu. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you build something that you're passionate about, something that is extremely special, something that has a strong culture, and something that really resonates with the people in your community that are called to try jiu-jitsu. And that is kind of the fundamental rule that you have to understand of opening an academy is you have to build a place that is clean, that is safe, that has good energy, good vibes, that people are excited to share time at, as opposed to a fight club or, you know, a lot of gyms throughout my 20 years of jiu-jitsu that I've trained at almost have like a dungeon-y feeling. And you know what? That's cool when you're 22 years old and you just want to go as hard as you can and there's 5 guys in the room. I'm not saying anything negative about that style of gym where it's kind of grimy and it's just kind of dark and there's dudes in there just fucking fighting to the death. But from a business standpoint, that is not a strategic approach. Your academy has to be light. It has to be vibrant. It has to be exceptionally clean. If you're going to listen to anything that I say today, take note on that. Exceptionally clean. My students will tell you they see me vacuuming and mopping literally every single day before practice and after practice. And if you don't want to be part-time janitor, then don't own a jiu-jitsu academy because by the nature of what we do, jiu-jitsu academies get dirty fast. On a nightly basis, there's probably a large Ziploc bag full of fucking hair. And I always tell the new people, I said, don't stay for cleaning, because when you see what comes off of these mats after one training session, it's going to fucking gross you out. I need you to fully have the jiu-jitsu bug before you see what it looks like cleaning the academy. But guys, not only is cleaning important for culture and for just the overall appearance of the academy, but cleaning is important for the safety of your students. When you prioritize cleaning your academy, it tells your students that you prioritize them. We don't have all the nasty shit, and knock on wood, because at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu can happen, right? And staph infections and ringworm and folliculitis, that shit can work its way through any academy. But we haven't had it happen yet, and we've been here 10 years. Now, I've been part of academies where I've had ringworm 24/7 for years. And I just thought, when I was a younger grappler, I just thought that that was part of becoming a jiu-jitsu professor. And I shouldn't say jiu-jitsu professor, a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I just thought that was part of spending time on the mats. So this is what I would encourage you guys to do. If you one day want to open a jiu-jitsu academy, if you're a blue or purple belt, start leaning into leadership positions in your current academy right now. Start prioritizing spending time in kids class, and most professors will welcome blue belts and above to start spending time in kids class. Spending time in kids class will do things to your jiu-jitsu that you probably don't even really understand, because I always say there's two sides to your jiu-jitsu. There's the jiu-jitsu you do, and then there's the jiu-jitsu you can teach, right? I can teach berimbolo. I can teach inverted de la Hiva. And I'm good at those things when I'm showing them, and I understand the mechanics. I understand the movements. I understand the defense. Like, I have a fairly comprehensive knowledge of a lot of jiu-jitsu that is actually not my jiu-jitsu when I'm rolling live. My jiu-jitsu when I'm rolling live is it's whittled down to a handful of sweeps and submissions and takedowns that I'm very good at. And I almost always fall back on my strengths when I'm rolling live or when I'm competing. And that's not to say that if the right opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't hit a inverted de la Hiva or whatever. But typically, I play a very, very rudimentary game. It's butterfly sweeps and it's arm bars. Now, the reason I say this is because if you want to own an academy and you want to teach jiu-jitsu, you don't want 150 students that just do jiu-jitsu like you. I think our job as professors is to expand people's minds on what is possible on the mats, show them a wide array of jiu-jitsu, and then let them find themselves. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, is people step into this realm, they step into this journey, and they get to discover who they are. What works for them? What doesn't work for them? What are their body's strengths? What are their body's weaknesses? Where are their mobility deficiencies? Where are their strength deficiencies? And once people start to build a game around them, that's where the magic starts to happen in their life, because they start to realize who they are and their capabilities and their deficiencies. And therein lies the whole purpose of what we're doing here. And so I have some blue belts that do all kinds of wacky shit that I would never do, but they're getting good at it. And the reason they're getting good at it is because it's in alignment with who they are and what their capabilities are. And so let's just kind of go down the from the very beginning. You know, I actually have a friend, two friends. It's Brianna and Jared Battles, who are, Brianna did the podcast, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago. And her husband is a black belt, and they're opening a jiu-jitsu academy in Idaho. Now, I'm not going to give too many details about their academy because I'm not sure their timeline or what they want put out there or what they don't want yet. So I'll just let them speak for themselves when that time comes. But we sat down and we talked about a decent amount of detail that you need to think about when you want to open your own academy. First and foremost, what I will tell you guys is the growth that you anticipate is going to be much slower than you anticipate. And that's just a fact of life. Again, we opened up with me saying that I thought I was going to open up and have 50 students. And that's because I had, 50 people that I know, like, dude, when you finally open, I'll be there. And again, talk is cheap. And what I found is when we finally opened, a fraction of the people I anticipated training with me actually followed through. And it turned into a really hard season because we put a lot of money into this place to open it up. And now it wasn't really generating any money itself. And it doesn't matter, guys. It can be your passion. It can be something that you truly love and is like, feels like it's your life mission. But when you're pouring into it and pouring into it and pouring into it, and it doesn't pour back into you, there is an element of frustration that starts to develop from that playing out the way it's playing out. So I would say go into opening your academy knowing that there's going to be out of the gates kind of a tough season where you're going to have one or two people sign up and you're going to develop a schedule, you're going to develop a curriculum, and you're going to show up for the 5 p.m. class and nobody's going to be there. And it's like, fuck, man. And then that's going to happen 50% of the time for a while. And then you're going to have nights where it's just one person and it feels like a private lesson. And it's like, it's hard to have the vibe on when it's you and one person. And this happens over and over and over. And it got to the point where a lot of frustration started to kind of settle in and get its hooks in me because it's like, fuck, man, what do I have to do to attract people to my academy? What do I have to do as a black belt professor to show people the value of who I am, what my skill sets on the mats entail, and what this facility can offer people? And that was a hard path for me to walk and come to an understanding of what I really need to be as a professor to make this place blow up. Excuse me. So I'm going to take this coat off. It's getting hot in here. Out of the gates, guys, I would encourage you to be willing to move. I think that is something that a lot of people are reluctant to understand is a pretty natural part of being successful, is you have to be willing to move to where you can build your empire. If you are in Lake Stevens, Washington, and you want to open a jiu-jitsu academy, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably going to be a tough place to open up because you have myself, who is kind of a juggernaut of the area these days, and then you have another very well-established academy. And I would say between our two academies, it's a pretty saturated area. Now, you see it all the time where like new little academies will open up in a strip mall, or they'll open up, in a warehouse, industrial style area in cities that already have a fairly well-established jiu-jitsu culture. And just know, out of the gates, you're setting yourself up for an uphill battle. I have people ask me all the time, and I tell them this. I say, do some comprehensive research. Look at where jiu-jitsu is very saturated, and then look at areas where jiu-jitsu is few and far between. And I know those areas exist because I get emails all the time, and they say, man, I want to start training, but I literally don't have an academy within 2 hours of my house. Like, what do you recommend I do? I hear feedback like that often enough to know there are still areas that are devoid of jiu-jitsu. Now, you're going to find lots of areas that probably don't have an academy, but if it's in the Appalachian Mountains and there's not a gas station within 200 miles, again, probably not very feasible, right? So part of your research is this. Find an area that's not oversaturated, or maybe they have, one or two academies within the city or the county, and then look into them and see who those academies are and what they would entail as competition to you. Don't think that you're just going to come in and mop up and take over, because that is also going to be bad for culture, right? You want to be someone that when you show up, you integrate with the existing jiu-jitsu community. You don't want to be someone that is I mean, in the end of the day, business is business, and you're going to be competitive with them, but you don't want to open up out of the gates as being an adversary. I would actually recommend that you guys, once you choose a spot, go to the closest jiu-jitsu academies and be like, hey, this is who I am. Moving into town. I'm opening up an academy on the other side of town here. We're trying to stay as far away as you as possible, but I just want to extend an invitation for you guys to come and train with us, get to know us, see what our vibe's about, and hopefully we can get some cross-training and our teams can become allies. That's what you want to do. And that's what I've done with our surrounding academies. And some of them, I would say Cascade Jiu-Jitsu is probably the most similar vibe to our academy in the area. And we consider all those guys homies, and they come and train with us. Ever since Bill moved, one of their black belts, who was kind of the driving force of a lot of our cross training, it's waned a little bit. It's not as prevalent as it was, I don't know, 6 months ago. But we're going to get back there. I saw a bunch of their guys were here on Friday, and building friendships amongst academies is important. Sure, you can be in competition in some aspects, obviously the business side of it, or if we're at a literal competition, yeah, we're going to be competing. But you can also have alliances, and you can also build friendships. So figure out the area where A, it's not oversaturated, B, there's not any like real powerhouses that you're going to be going up against, and then C, look at the average household income. You know, if you're looking at areas that have no jiu-jitsu, but they're super impoverished, you're probably going to have a hard time building a student base. You have to be in an area where individuals or families can understand that, hey, being part of what they are here is going to cost $150 a month. And that shouldn't be a big deal if they're employed and they're, I don't know, they're in an area where, like our area, a lot of people work at Boeing, a lot of people work at Amazon. They're part of careers where $150 a month isn't too big of a hit. And the truth is, you want your tuition to be set at a price point where students don't feel like, fuck, that's expensive. I want students to feel like the value exchange is right on par. I pay this much, but I definitely get my money's worth at that academy. And guys, I've told you plenty of times here, like my academy at $150 a month, we could probably charge a slightly higher premium, but I feel like that's a good price point that's going to be obtainable for most people in our community to be members of our team. And so again, everything is a dichotomy. Everything's a double-edged sword, right? Because some academies charge $250 a month, and they have the right to do that. And they may have extenuating circumstances where they feel they have to do that, right? Like really high cost of rent or something. But the higher you charge, the less people are going to be capable of being members. Now, if you want a smaller club that charges premium prices, maybe that's what you want to do. But what I would caution you against is charging so low that you think you will be able to generate a lot more interest. I'll just lowball the other academies, and everybody's charging $150, and I'll say I'll put my memberships at $80 a month, and we'll get 3 times as many, so that makes sense, right? Here's what happens when you undervalue your gym's, what your gym is offering. When you undervalue it, and this is kind of strange, this is like a psychology thing, people are actually less likely to want to give you their money and become team members, because there's some part in the back of their head, almost on a subconscious level, that's like, why is it so cheap? What is this about? What are they missing? Where is their lack of value? So don't overcharge, but charge a premium price that represents who the fuck you are, how much hard work you've put into this place and what your value is as a black belt. Remember, getting a black belt is PhD level knowledge. And people can laugh at that statement, but it's true. It took me 10 years to get black belt. And so understand that you should charge a premium price, but you should also never undervalue yourself. And that's where you got to find that sweet spot in the middle. You guys can go to theelectricnorth.com. That is my Jiu Jitsu Academy website. You've heard it 200 times in our intro, but our dues and our rates are all on there. And you can see the family package, the 1 kid, the 2 kids, and a parent. Like, we have a lot of different options so families can find a plan that works for them. We also don't do contracts and we don't do cancellation fees. And that is something you're going to find is good for culture. All right. A lot of gyms think like, oh, I got this guy to sign up. Let's lock him in for 6 months on a contract. This is one of the most hated aspects in the fitness industry. You go to any gym's Google reviews or Yelp reviews and see what the number one complaints are. And typically the complaints on gyms are, I've tried to cancel my contract 6 times, and on the first of every month for the last 6 months, they continue to charge me. People don't want to be locked in. Like, and who the fuck are you as a gym owner to tell people where they have to be spending their money 7 months from today? What if they train for 6 months and they just don't like it? What if they get hurt right out of the gates and realize like, man, this style of training is not congruent with my employment? Like, I'm a carpenter and I keep getting my arms tweaked and I'm struggling at work, and jiu-jitsu is just simply not for me at this point in my life. If someone comes to that conclusion, wish them well, thank them for sharing time and energy with you and the team, and say, I hope to see you back when maybe life circumstances allow for it. If you make people feel stuck, they will start to badmouth your gym. People start to badmouth your gym in your community. Trust me, you're going to lose more in reputation than you will ever gain by getting that person locked in and not letting them get out of there. The other thing is no cancellation fees either. Like, if you've come to that conclusion that training is not for you, who the fuck am I to say, well, since you came to that conclusion, give me $200 and then I'll cancel your contract and you don't have to train jiu-jitsu anymore. That's a cancellation fee is another little passive aggressive tool to be able to manipulate people into staying. And I'm here to tell you guys, if people want to leave your gym, celebrate them wanting to leave and let them go. Your culture will not grow into what it's supposed to be unless you really adopt that mindset and you understand your gym isn't going to be for everybody. Not only is your gym not going to be for everybody, but the other gym across the street or up the road or wherever it is, they're going to appeal to some certain individuals that your gym doesn't appeal to. And that's the beauty of competition in entrepreneurship and business. Know that if you try and appease everyone, you will inevitably appease nobody. So find your shtick, find your niche, find your vibe, your culture, lean into that. And what you're going to find is it attracts people that are in alignment with you. Once you've built the path to attracting people that are in alignment with you, you won't be able to stop the place from filling up. And that's where we're at now. We've already expanded once and we're pretty much at capacity again. And it's crazy, but it's good problems to have. Now, as far as the actual physical location of where you start your academy, this is what I'm going to say. Now, I know this is a lot easier said than done because purchasing property and building a building comes with a lot of expenses and it comes with just a lot of headaches, frankly. You know, we already touched on some of the headaches that you experience when you buy a lot and you build 2 gyms on it. But this is what I would caution you guys as new academy owners. if you're paying rent in some mall or some corner of whatever, like just some fucking maybe an office building, or you've been able to be one of those gyms that finds a spot in an industrial area, regardless, you are going to be paying probably $4,000 a month or more. Like, good luck finding a place that is 3,000 square feet. I would say you need 3,000 square feet, and not all of it has to be matted, but you're going to want your facility to be roughly 3,000 square feet if you want to have any type of longevity and any type of validity as a premier academy. But what I'm saying is renting, what you will inevitably find with renting is you are giving money to a landlord month after month after month after month while your student base is still new, while you're still trying to build your student base and you're trying to build your academy. And if you're hemorrhaging money that you will never get back while you are trying to build your academy, it just puts you in an area where it's like, fuck, man, there's not a lot of money coming in and there's a lot of money going out, and I'm never going to see that money again. And that's a rough place to arrive at. And so I would really encourage people to, and again, it's going to take more cost up front, but the truth of it is, if you buy a lot and you build a building on it, now you have equity. So sure, you're still paying a mortgage, but that mortgage is almost like paying yourself, because all the money that you're spending on that facility, you can one day recoup if needed. And that's like an insurance policy, right? And so I can tell you guys, because I just built another gym, and the way that we did them here, that we just built pole barns. And pole barns with metal roof, metal siding, and then you do the finish work inside to make them look nice. And you can frame in rooms, and you can put a second story. Like, both our CrossFit gym and our Jiu Jitsu Academy have a second story. So it's just maximizing that 3,000 square foot footprint. And now we have 2 mat rooms, which we'll get into that in a little bit, because 2 mat rooms, again, is a game changer for setting yourself apart from the other local academies. But if you can figure out a way to save up enough money to put a down payment on a piece of property and then build your structure, not only will that not come with you hemorrhaging money that you'll never get back, but once you finally make it, I don't pay rent. Like, we finally arrived, and I have a mortgage on the property that is very, very cheap, and it's not even a consideration anymore, because we were able to do that early on. Our CrossFit gym, which is, come and look at it, guys. Go in there and walk around and see how beautiful it is. It was a $400,000 build, which I know sounds like a lot, right? But you have to start thinking about money a little differently and be willing to take out some loans, spend some money up front, but position yourself in a way where now, when it's all said and done, it's yours and you own it, and you have the autonomy over the lot, over the buildings, and you're not going to get strung up for, I shouldn't say strung up, you're not going to get put in a position where it's like, oh, hey, you tried to build this academy for the last 6 years and it's starting to work out pretty well, but unfortunately, we're going to be leasing to these guys moving forward. We're going to end your lease for this reason or that reason. And I'm here to tell you guys, that shit happens. Talk to Greg Lappin about that. Like, when he first started Vita, he had a landlord for a long time, and it was a nonstop battle. Little side note, I'm going to be at Vortex next weekend doing some shooting, some long range shooting, and Lappin and Folk are going to be out there with me, and we're going to do a podcast. So maybe I'll bring that up, because I think that that's something that's always a consideration that I want you guys to think about, is the more others have control over your business, all the little things that may go wrong over time will. And so having a landlord that has the ability to really, on a whim, literally change the trajectory of your entire life. That's something that I would encourage you to try and avoid. Because I'm not even being like I'm not even looking at landlords and like making any negative connotations. It's their lot; they own it, and maybe one day they change their mind of what they want to do with it, and now you're up a shit creek. So think about that. Again, it's going to cost a little more upfront, but you're gaining equity in what you're doing. And so let's go into the culture of the gym that you really need to emphasize on from day one. And I struggled with this, guys. I did because I wanted to build competitors. I wanted to build fighters. And I was drawn to the toughest guys. And I wanted my mat room to be known for being the hardest rolls around. And it's interesting because we built that reputation. Everybody knows that Electric North is are hard rolls. But what's more important than how hard the rolls are is the culture that we set inside of the facility. As soon as people walk in here now, again, it's exceptionally clean. It's bright. Everything has its place. Everything's dress right dress. You come in and you get greeted right away. And that's something that needs to be done for all academies. When people walk in, they want to be seen. They're not just walking through the door of a jiu-jitsu academy requires a certain amount of, like, I would say a certain amount of courage. There are a lot of nerves around what jiu-jitsu entails, especially for women and children, and especially for men that have maybe never been physical or have never been part of sports or military units or things where men get after it. If you've never incorporated the grind into your lifestyle, it's intimidating to say, you know what, I'm going to start. And I'm going to start today, and I'm going to walk through that door, and I'm going to ask them what is necessary to start training with them. So never make people feel awkward or unseen, or make them sit on the bench for 20 minutes before someone goes over there and shakes their hand and introduces themselves. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a front desk girl or a front desk guy that is like a paid position, somebody that mans the desk 24/7. But if you don't have someone at the front desk, then you need to have the people on the mats be acutely aware of when people walk in, and just know that part of your culture is, I don't care if it's a white belt or a purple belt or me as the professor, someone needs to go over there and be like, hey, what's up, man? My name's so-and-so. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. If you want to train today, there's the waivers right there. Get one of those filled out, and then I'll go grab the professor for you, or I'll go grab Jenny or somebody that can guide them further or answer their questions. But you want people coming in and immediately feeling comfort. So clean facility, comfortable vibes. Those are the two things that have to happen right out of the gates. If those don't happen out of the gates, people start having reservations. And you don't want people to have reservations 10 minutes into meeting you. I hear it all the time, and it's kind of strange. But when people are checking out academies, they will very often talk about what they didn't like about other academies. And so they'll be like, yeah, I was just up the street at so-and-so's gym, and nobody came and shook my hand or even acknowledged me for 20 minutes. I ended up leaving. It was weird. There's people rolling, and it was like I was invisible. I'll hear that. I'll also hear, man, this place looks clean. The last place I tried, I was in a white gi, and at the end of practice, like, my gi was all dingy and dirty. It's like they'd never cleaned the mats before. So people, even though they're new and they don't understand maybe all the ins and outs of jiu-jitsu culture, they can still pick up on these things that are important. And that's cleanliness and that's culture. Those are the two things you have to implement if you want to find success, especially if you want to find success with women and children. The girls don't want to be in your dungeon gym. The girls don't want to be in your fight club. And I used to not care. I was like, I don't care. I don't want my gym's not about women and children. My gym's about savages. Well, let me tell you two things about that train of thought that are incorrect. As a business, you will not thrive unless you become a family-friendly facility. Now, don't misconstrue when I say family-friendly as being a McDojo. That's not the case at all. But if you only appeal to savage young men, you have taken your customer base down by probably 75% or maybe more. And it's also a backwards way of thinking, because those people that do not have any capability, that are literally day one white belts, I've never done a sport, I've never done a martial arts, I've never shot a gun, I've never went for a hard run. Like, there are people that they've lived their whole life and they haven't challenged themselves yet. And they listen to enough Jocko, they listen to enough Joe Rogan, and they say, you know what? I think today's the day I'm going to try and challenge myself. Never, ever, ever make that person feel like they're out of place or they're unwelcome. That person needs to be celebrated. That person needs to be put up on a pedestal. You need to tell that person with honesty and truth. And I have these conversations with people all the time. It's like, don't hide from the truth. You know, like, yeah, it's very apparent that it seems like you've let yourself go over the last few years, and me and this team will be the best thing you've ever done to find yourself again. And you're going to find that when you start training with us, it's not just the hour that you spend on the mats. You're going to be called to want to look into nutritional practices. You're going to want to make your mobility better. You're going to start getting in the sauna with the team after practice and getting that good sweat on. You're probably going to start to look at using the ice plunge to deal with your inflammation. Like, all of these things become a lifestyle, and it encompasses everything. And when you show people the way that have never seen the way before, man, a light turns on in them. And some people will show up all motivated, wanting to fucking become better, and they'll fizzle out because they don't have the discipline or the drive to keep showing up. I see that plenty. You know, there isn't a magical solution that fucking you can make every single person's life better. But the people that are willing to show up and put in the work, regardless of who they are today, focus on who they're going to be tomorrow. Focus on their potential. And you're going to find that when you focus on people's potential, man, it makes them feel validated. And that's a huge, huge component of building a strong team. The other thing is when you focus on people's potential, you're not focusing on their potential because you want to sign them up and get their $150 a month. Don't get me wrong. You do want that. It's a fucking business. We're making money, right? Never shy away from the benefits of making money. But making the money is a byproduct of enriching their lives. That's the mindset you have to hold. That's where the mindset of abundance happens. That's where abundance starts to flow. Because I'm not here for your $150. I'm here to make you a better person. The $150 is a byproduct of that. And when that is the energy that you share with people, they feel it. I'm not just some fucking number where their revenue's gonna increase a little bit because I signed up. No, I'm another person that's gonna fucking grow here. I'm gonna become powerful. I'm gonna fucking become capable. And when you give people a gift that is rooted in reality, they feel it, they know it, the energy is there, and you do that for enough people, now the energy starts to really cycle around the room as it's like its own entity. And if you haven't experienced it, I don't know how I can articulate it any better than that. But like when Jeremy Newsom, who was last week's episode, when he stepped into the academy, he goes, bro, the energy is palpable in here. I almost feel like I could grab it and take a bite out of it. That's what you want. And you won't get there when your main mission is making dollars. You will get there when your main mission says, how do I make people better? And you don't focus on making some people better. Your focus on making all people better. Now, here's the beauty in it. When you commit to making all people better, the most savage man in the room and the new obese non-athlete are excited to train together. And I've learned that over the last couple of years. And I've learned that lesson over and over and over. Your strongest players, they're not upset that you have new people that aren't very good or that don't know anything. It's actually the opposite. When you have the right culture, your strongest players are excited to build up your weakest players. And it's not fucking lip service. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's authenticity. And you get the right people that are excited to build up the new people that don't have a very good understanding of capability and fitness. When you pair those two things together, it's fucking magic. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. We can still run a comp class where it's like, hey, we're fucking getting down. And some people may not be cut out for that, and that's okay. And we have our Nogi crew, and our Nogi team is known for being pretty gnarly. Their practices are pretty gnarly. I'm not saying don't have that grind and that toughness, but have it something that's available for people that want to specifically seek it, but then also have your 101, have your women's class, have your kids class, have things that are consumable for everybody. And when you do that, what you see is you build a process where people can onboard, they can come into jiu-jitsu, and then they can find a path that's comfortable for them. And guys, we all know every path in jiu-jitsu is uncomfortable, right? But if we can offer a women's class, you know what that's going to do for the girls that have maybe went through sexual assault or abuse, that have PTS around men that they don't know on top of them? You know what? Let's give them an environment where they can slowly start to understand the discomfort. They can slowly start to understand the dangers and the positions. And now they're doing it in an environment where they feel welcome and they feel safe because they're up there with other females. Not only other females, but purple belt females. Purple belt females that are motherfuckers that are like, hey, and brown belt. We have Val here who's a brown belt, and she is a murderer. And guess what? Her vibe and her look and like how she carries herself, not murdery at all. Like the nicest, sweetest girl. And she always has her kids here. And when you slap and bump with her, you're in for it. How empowering is that for other females that have never pursued this type of endeavor before to go be in a women's only class that feels much safer and much more secure? And then they get to witness things like that. And like, oh, wait, that's what women can become? Oh, wait, I can do that too? So never diminish the value of building spaces where people feel safer. And I know that safe space, there's like gay connotations to that, like that's pussy liberal shit. But guys, there is no safe space inside the walls of a jiu-jitsu academy. It's all tough. It's all grindy. It all comes with uncertainty and it all comes with nerves. We know that. However, what we can do is try and mitigate some of that if possible. And we do that to help people step into the journey. Once people step into the journey and they bought off on it, by all means, you're going to see them at the comp class. You're going to see them on Friday night rolls, fucking getting down, getting their ass beat, struggling. That's all part of it. But most people are going to have a hard time walking right into that. Now, the other thing that I'm going to say, which is very similar to the building your own facility, easier said than done, right? Because it's going to take more time, it's going to take more resources, and it's going to take more money. But having 2 mat rooms under one roof is an absolute game changer. I didn't have 2 mat rooms until very recently. I didn't get 2 mat rooms until we did our expansion 2 years ago. But I can tell you, knowing what I know now, I would encourage everybody that's starting a jiu-jitsu academy to have 2 mat rooms. 2 mat rooms allows you to capitalize on the golden hours. And the golden hours are 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., people are off work, people are off school, people are available to pursue their interests. And that's 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and then we roll from 7 to 7:30. That's 3 classes. When you're trying to have a women's class, a youth class, a kids class, a 101 class, a comp class, Like when you're trying to have all of these different things available, but you only have 3 hours a night to do it, what you find is it's really hard to schedule it with consistency. So what are you going to have? You're going to have women's class once a week, kids class once a week, youth class once a week. No, you have to, and I think each curriculum needs to have multiple days a week available. And the only way that you can do that is if you have 2 mat rooms. And so our 101 is twice a week. Our youth is twice a week. Our kids are 3 times a week. And our women right now are actually only once a week. But we also have kids no gi. And we have kids gi. And we have like every single block of time is taken up. And that's with 2 mat rooms. And the mats are packed when any of those classes are going on. And so, again, it's going to be more of a burden, but it's going to pay dividends in the long run if you can divide up classes during those golden hours. The other thing that I've implemented since we've had 2 mat rooms is a 101 class. If you do not have a 101 class, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. And again, like these are lessons that I learned over the years because I didn't have a 101 class. I had 6 p.m. night class. That's it. Everyone and everybody shows up, and it doesn't matter if you're a black belt or if it's your first day, we're all training together. What 101 is done, and I run a 101 6-week curriculum, and I encourage new people to do a full 6-week rotation so you learn the fundamentals of Jiu Jitsu. You learn what it is. You know, if you show up and we're doing squid guard, people are going to be like, wait, what the fuck is this? It's not even going to make sense. So onboard people in a capacity where they can have an understanding. Our 6-week onboarding program is a week of mount, a week of guard, a week of side control, a week of back control, the concept of sweeping, and the concept of passing. And that's a rotating 6 weeks. So people get to understand pretty much every position that you could find yourself in and what you're trying to do from each position. Understand the concept of sweeping and passing, getting dominant positions, and then how to attack from those dominant positions. Like, that's the game we're playing. Give people an opportunity to really take a period of time and understand that, as opposed to how often do you guys hear this when people are like on day one and they're trying to roll and they literally say, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. If you have people saying they don't even know what they're supposed to be doing, man, we've dropped the ball somewhere, right? So streamline that process, onboard people more efficiently. And what you're doing is you're giving them a base of knowledge early on that they can really apply throughout the rest of their jiu-jitsu career. Another thing that I wanted to touch on as far as the actual ownership of the business, guys, don't do it with partners. I hate to break it to you because the guy you want to open your gym with is your best friend and you've been white through brown belt together and you've been training together for 7 years and this has been your dream. But the truth of partnerships, 99% of the time, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but I actually was just listening to not only do most businesses fail, but partnerships fail at even a higher level. Think about a relationship. Think about your marriage. Like, very rarely are relationships seamless and everything works out and we have open communication. The only time you partner with somebody is if they have a skill that you don't have or they have capital that you don't have. That's the only 2 times. Never partner with somebody because they're your bro or because you're doing this together. Because inevitably, someone's going to put in more effort, someone's going to put in less, and we all know where that goes. The other side of it is you don't want to split like upfront partnership. It's tough to cover the bills. It's tough to cover the build. Okay, let's do a partnership because now we're splitting cost. But then 5 years later, once you're slaying, you're splitting profits too. You don't need a partner. Stand on your own 2 feet. Do it as a family. Have your wife be your partner. That's who my partner is here. And, I've had people try and buy in, be like, hey, I want a percentage of ownership in electric jiu-jitsu. And I've had large sums of money offered because people see the value, and I've declined, and I will always decline because this has to be mine. I have to have autonomy over what I want to do here, how I want to structure it, how the business runs, if we need to expand, if we need to do this, if we need to do that. I would encourage you guys to avoid partnerships at all costs. Now, another thing as far as your actual jiu-jitsu curriculum, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I think most black belts have done this. There was a time in my life when I would just show up and be like, what do we want to learn today, guys? What do we want to do? Who has questions? Or I love the Kimura, so we're going to work some more Kimura attacks today. And if you do not have a well pre-planned, written out, structured curriculum, you will inevitably land in one of two places where you just teach what you like, or you just say, you know what, let's roll. And that's the Brazilian fucking way. I can't tell you how many classes I went to when it's like, hey, you know what, guys, fuck it, let's just roll. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that because rolling is my favorite part of jiu-jitsu. So when Joao would say, fuck it, let's just roll, it always made me happy. But I caution you guys doing that as a business model, because a lot of people don't want to just roll. A lot of people want to learn something, and they're paying you to learn something. So always remember that. I have a 10-week written curriculum. And guys, 10 weeks, writing out a 10-week curriculum, it takes you 35 minutes. It's not like this comprehensive thing that you have to do, some arduous task. No, you sit down for a half an hour and you say, all right, week 1 and 2 is this. And you think about what pass it's going to be, what takedown it's going to be, what submissions it's going to be. Or sometimes it's not any of those things. It's about guard retention, or it's about learning to elevate people, or whatever the case may be. But I would also encourage you to give it 2 weeks per lesson plan. It doesn't have to be the same thing for 2 weeks, but I like to work, like right now we're doing closed guard. That's the hub we're working from. And it's going to include attacks from closed guard, passing closed guard, sweeps from closed guard, but everything, that's the hub. And that hub is focused on for 2 weeks. I used to do a 1-week curriculum, but guys, 1 week, especially if you only get in once or twice that week, there are people that may see the closed guard one time, and then they might not see it again for 10, 12, 20 weeks. And so I think it's important to have a 2-week curriculum hub that you work from, maybe even 3, if we're being honest. I've been kicking around the idea of 3 because you can geek out on stuff for long periods of time. Now, we could do closed guard for the next 8 months if I'm being serious, but that may serve people's closed guard. But how's it going to serve the rest of their jiu-jitsu? But more importantly, how's that going to captivate their attention? And so it's a balance between, I don't want to breeze over things too fast, but I also have to make sure that I keep their attention and keep them stimulated. And people are here to learn new stuff. So if you're always doing the same thing, that's going to be just as detrimental as just going over something really quickly and moving on. And so I would encourage you guys, though, write it out, post it, so your students can see what the next 3 months entails, and then they can get ahead of the curriculum a little bit and be like, oh, we're doing X guard this week. Maybe I'll watch some videos, or I'll watch some fucking BJJ Fanatics with Danaher. And that allows them to kind of have a little understanding. I actually encourage people to do that. I know there are different trains of thoughts. People think like they don't want them to be self-taught or learn things because sometimes you'll impart the wrong lessons on yourself. But we're not flying helicopters here. We're doing jiu-jitsu. So if you want to watch some curriculum and learn some ins and outs of each position, I actually encourage that. And then when we go into it, they already have a little base level of understanding. So I had another thing. I had one more point that I wanted to make. It's slipping my mind right now because we're already at an hour. I thought this was going to be a short episode. Every time I think it's going to be a short episode, fucking goes forever. And that's just me. That's the endless endeavor. Fucking talking forever. So yeah, guys, if you are inclined to want to open an academy, hit me up. Talk to me. There's a lot that goes into it. And the sooner you start to think about those lessons and you start to have someone in your ear that can talk to you about a lot of things that you may have never even thought of. If I'm being honest, like Greg Lappin, he helped me a lot with talking about things as an academy owner that I'd never even really put much thought or energy in. And you don't want your lessons to come up at the hardest times when you're not ready for them, you're not anticipating. You want to get out ahead of those things. You want to be able to have some type of understanding of the things that can go wrong before they go wrong. And that way you can build a game plan and SOPs around those. So the last thing I'll say, guys, is we talked about a lot of the logistical things, the finances, the location, the lesson plan. But at the end of the day, for your culture to be king, for your culture to separate yourself from the other academies, is I think it's imperative that the head black belt is somebody that leads from the front. A successful jiu-jitsu academy happens from leadership. Sure, we're doing all these different things, right? But leadership in its foundation is what will separate your academy from the other academies. Once you have a strong foundation in leadership, I say to the academy all the time, guys, we could be doing fucking... Jiu-jitsu happens to be the catalyst that brought this group of people together, but we could be fucking basket weaving and it would feel just as powerful because the right people have been brought together. The right alliances are being forged. The right camaraderie is being built. And so remember, that is what people are ultimately there for. Tribe, connection, camaraderie. Jiu-jitsu is the catalyst that we are using to give people those things. Now, that doesn't mean you can have shit jiu-jitsu, right? Whenever I talk about this, I always clarify, you have to be a motherfucker on the mat. If you want to have a successful jiu-jitsu academy, you have to be a son of a bitch on the mats. And if you're not, it's going to be harder for people to have respect for you. And that's not even like, oh, he's not very good, so I don't like that guy. No. It's not even a conscious thing. It's when guys come in and you put your hands on them and they're like, what the fuck is this? They need that experience. They have to know you are legit as fuck. Because any vibes of McDojo, it'll kill your culture. Now, here are other things that are very common that kill culture. Black belts acting like prima donnas. Black belts saying, you can't ask me to roll. Like, what are we talking about? Can you imagine saying that to someone? I'm a black belt. You can't ask me to roll. You got a different dye on the fabric of your belt. It doesn't make you some type of fucking demigod. You're just a person with better jiu-jitsu. So never forget that and treat the people in your academy as such. My name is Greg in the academy. You don't have to call me professor. You don't have to bow to me. I don't have to implement these weird little traditions where I'm being worshipped. It's like, that shit's gross. And you know how people are going to respect you the most? By who the fuck shows up on the mats. I don't hide from anybody. Anytime a black belt's visiting, we're going to get a roll in and I'm going to fucking submit you. That's my goal. And it's not a big dick contest. It's not bad vibes. We leave with hugs and high fives. But I have to let people know when you come through our door, our jiu-jitsu's legit here. We're cool guys. You know, like Adam always writes on his Instagram posts, light vibes, heavy rolls. We're fun guys to be around. We love you. We're down to train and get better. But we're also here to win, and we're here to show you that this is real. Never allow that to become so egotistical, though, that you think you're something special. Like when people fucking say black belts can't, or you can't ask a black belt to fucking roll. I'm like, dude, fuck you. And here's the other thing. If you ask me to roll and I don't feel like it, sometimes I'll say no. Be like, guys, I'm taking it easy today. Or, hey, you know what? I'm nursing an injury, so I'm only going to get flow rolls in with my purple belts or whatever it is. I don't have to roll with you. Don't get me wrong. But I don't ever want someone to feel like they can't ask me. If they can't ask you, you need to look in the mirror and ask why you've implemented that rule. Either roll with people or say no to them. You don't have to have some gay rule. And there's a lot of gay rules that I see in academies. And it's like, oh, if you bump into a black belt, you better fucking move. You know what my rule is? If people are bumping into each other, whoever identifies the problem should come up with a solution to the problem. And I don't care what color your belt is. You might have two people. Let's say that somebody's on somebody's back, so they're both looking a certain direction. And someone's frantically trying to escape, so they're trying to change the angle of their hips. Maybe they're in a body lock, so they're trying to take them over to the other side to address the foot. And they inadvertently bump into somebody, but they couldn't see them because it was back control. Both athletes are looking the wrong way. Well, the people that can see the problem that's transpiring just say, hey, time, and pull that person away. And now you fucking have caused, or now you have found a solution to the problem. So don't think that your black belt comes with a bunch of special rules. I've also seen in gyms, white belts clean the mats. Fuck, man. White belts clean the mats? It's your facility, motherfucker. It's up to you to keep it clean. And not only is it up to you to keep it clean, but those new white belts, they probably don't understand how important mat hygiene is and how much solution gets put into the water and how heavy of a spray goes on it and how when we mop ourselves off the mats, we're mopping off the mats so we're not walking back over the area that we're cleaning. Like all these little things matter. And if you put a derogatory connotation on cleaning the facility, and it's like, it's almost a punishment, or it's a rite of passage, you're a white belt, clean the mats, and you're going to clean them until you get a blue belt. No, fuck that. The higher up the food chain you get in your belt ranking, the more love and the more passion you should have to give back to your facility. So I rarely have to ask people to help me clean the mats because guess what I do? We do bow out, and then I go grab a mop. I go grab a vacuum. I go grab the leaf blower. Oh, pro tip number 50, have a leaf blower in the academy. If you don't have a leaf blower in the academy, you are missing out. It is a fucking superpower to be able to just fucking isolate all the fucking hair and skin and fucking debris in one corner. You run a vacuum over it. I used to fucking sweep my academy every night with a broom. And it was lapping. It's like, bro, leaf blower. So get yourself a leaf blower. But regardless, lead from the front. Leadership 101. Ask nothing of your men you're unwilling to do yourself. It's your goddamn academy. Make sure it looks sharp. Make sure it stays clean. Make sure you're disinfecting everything and you're mopping and you're dusting. You're keeping your bathroom clean. Every time you go in the bathroom, you should wipe it down. I even spray a fucking couple sprays of bleach into the toilet bowl and wipe it literally every time I go in there. You cannot have nasty vibes. You go in there and the back's all fucking painted with fucking spattered diarrhea. You're killing your vibe. The mom that is watching jiu-jitsu while her son trains that goes in to use the restroom, she doesn't want to see that. She doesn't want to smell that. It's like the difference of a fucking gas station bathroom or Starbucks bathroom. Where do you go take a shit when you're road tripping? Cleanliness matters. And it tells people a story that you have some self-respect and that you care about your facility and that you care about your customers. The last thing I'm going to say, no, not the last thing. I'm going to say two more things. Protect your women at all costs. I talked about the female 101, or not the female 101, but the female only training that we offer. That's one aspect of giving them an option that they feel safe in. But when they join the team and when they're amongst the ranks, protect your fucking women. Not only protect them, talk about it, let your men know it's an expectation. And if anybody thinks that that's wrong, fuck them. They're not good for your culture. I say it all the time. Guys, we protect our women under this roof. We prioritize our women's safety and we take care of our women. And if I see you guys fucking going hard on one of our girls, then we have a problem. Like it is a human understanding that men protect women. That's how it is. That's how our energies match up. We're the masculine energy. We're the protectors. We're the providers. They're the feminine energy. They're the nurturers. They're the creators. One's not better. One's not worse. They're different, and we have different roles, and it's the yin and the yang. When we stand in our own roles, the connection and the understanding and the belief, it actually flows better. So protect your women. We're not all equal on the mats. Typically, women are smaller. Typically, women are weaker. And this is not me taking a stab at women. I love women. I'm just talking about reality. And understand, for a woman to become a savage black belt, she has to have 200-pound sweaty, hairy motherfuckers on her for 10 years. That's a much more arduous path to black belt than I had to deal with. So protect them, nurture them, build them up. And when you see things that are not congruent with your culture on how you treat women, call it out during bow out and say it to the whole team. Men and women are not equal. We're different. Period. And we're going to acknowledge that, and we're going to protect our women. And if you think that there's something wrong with that, goodbye. Very, very, very easy solution for that. And I'm here to tell you, the women love that. The women here appreciate. I've had them come up to me and tell me that. I appreciate that you have our back. I appreciate that I feel like I'm protected here. It's important. It's one of the most important things you can do. The last thing I'm going to say, guys, and maybe we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on this, lead from the front. Ask nothing of your men you're unwilling to do yourself. I already said it in regards to cleaning the academy. That's easy though, right? Competing. Guys, I'm not an avid competitor. I used to compete a decent amount, but life gets busy. I'm now a business owner. I'm now a professor. I'm older, so things are hurting. But when your people see you leading from the front, it lights a fire inside of your facility. And so we had a big tournament last weekend, and I ended up taking gold in the black belt heavyweight division. And the reason that I took gold was because I told myself, me and Will talked about it. I told myself, I'm going to lead from the front. I am going to put in the work. I'm going to show the team what this thing is all about, competing. And guys, again, I don't have expectations on my athletes that they compete, but I do encourage it because I think it's huge for your overall jiu-jitsu development and your overall growth as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, because competition jiu-jitsu is not the same as anything you experience in the gym. And that's a fact. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how strong you are. When you go compete, you are met with a different energy, and that energy can be tough to deal with. Not only the energy of your opponent, but your own understanding of yourself. Because when you don't have, I should say, when you are not very consistent in competition, I don't care how tough you are, there's a little bit of nerves that come up. And in some people, there's a lot of bit of nerves that come up. You need to learn that about yourself, because competition feels like a real world encounter, right? I don't know this person. What's he going to do to me? You may need to use your jiu-jitsu throughout your life in scenarios that are scary, that are the unknown, that you are engaging in something that you don't know the outcome. That's a martial artist. That's what we're doing. And the foundation of what we're doing is learning to fight and incapacitate other human beings. And when you really have to do that, because I've done it on the streets, man, sometimes it comes with a little bit of nerves, right? And so understand that. Understand that building people up through competition is only going to serve them long term. It's going to help them develop. It's going to grow confidence. It's going to grow capability. And competition never hurts. Someone's knocking on the door right now. We're not open. I'm talking about culture. Someone's knocking on the door. I'm not going to go answer. I'll answer to 3 minutes when I wrap this up. When you understand that you have to show people, you're not going to tell them, you're not going to ask them, just simply show them. And I did the 8-week camp with the team. I got hurt a couple times, so it was difficult for me to be all in, but I was always present. I was always putting in work. And when it was time to actually go down there, show up, I knew I was going to win. You know how I knew I was going to win? I knew I was going to win because black belts go first. I was the first match of the day. And then I was coaching for the rest of the day. How the fuck could I go down there and not show up and find success and fight hard and win? How could I not do that? I was setting the tone for the day. It was imperative that I showed up and I showed the team what it's all about. And I did that. And I knew I was going to win. I visualized it. I saw it. I knew that I was going to be standing on the top of the podium because I had to set the tone for the day. And losing was not an option. And the crazy thing is, guys, I've been competing in jiu-jitsu for 20 years now, from white belt to black belt. Never in my whole life did I have that level of confidence. But when I had my whole team with me, seeing who I am, how I show up, how I face those nerves, how I fight, how I win, I knew that was the only option. And that's how it played out. So guys, someone's knocking on the door. We're going to wrap it up, but it's already an hour and 15. I was going to wrap it up anyways. We'll see what's up with them. Maybe we'll go sign a new member. But think about it, guys. Think about it. If you want to start a jiu-jitsu academy at some point, start putting little things in motion right now. Start getting out ahead of things right now. Start visualizing it. Start planning. Start investigating. Do your research. And I can tell you, one day, you can leave whatever current job you're at as a cop or working at Amazon, and you can make 5 times as much money, but you can also live a life where you're being you for a living.